Welcome to a special episode, episode 4. It's actually not that special, but it's just an episode. It's the first episode back of NETLORE, and it's called Faxlore, episode 4.
Faxlore.
So this is in a weird way. This was actually like the very first episode we conceived, right after even before the low tax thing. Because if you remember,
Wait, is that real?
This is real facts. I just posted 2 pictures in the chat.
I forgot about this.
This is dated back to December 3rd. 2021, when we were workshopping the idea of a podcast.
Oh God. Wait, you're going to make me look really stupid now.
No. This is good. Why don't you read your lines and I'll read my lines.
Read my line. Okay. Yeah. I don't remember this conversation.
Okay. So let me just to intro this. We were workshopping ideas for the name of our podcast.
No, I don't want to read these lines. These are really embarrassing ideas for names. These are horrible.
No, dude, they are bad ideas. Okay, fine, whatever. I won't make you feel. I'm going to show these on screen either way.
I'll read them. Okay. So
this is workshopping here.
Me from December of 2021. I had this at 2 a.m. in the morning.
Okay, there's another aspect. This is like right in the middle of the conversation. Like we were like straight up just like spewing just like whatever, throw stuff at the wall, see what sticks or whatever.
So what was I thinking at 2 a.m. in an early December night? So I guess the first ideas I had for this podcast were called Useless History Podcast and the Mind Filler Podcast, which is really great.
I had the epic joke of what if we called it the Goatsy Podcast? That would really get their attention. And then you had a pretty good comeback, which was
the logo is different variations of the image.
Right. And I said I'd guarantee we get Justin Wang on that one. We could if we did, but I didn't actually want to do it. I was just spitballing it as a joke. But the point was I just wanted to have a lead up to the part where I actually got to the thing where I said I just came across something 90s core as fuck. I was looking up variations on the term NETLORE, and I found out that it's not just like a made up term. I thought it was like a made up term.
Yeah, you came up with NETLORE. I didn't remember any of this.
As far as I thought I did, but it's not a Wikipedia page. It's a Wiktionary word definition for the term NETLORE. So it's like a real thing.
A kind of folklore comprising humorous texts, folk poetry, folk art, and urban legends that are circulated over the internet.
It's not yet I never heard anyone say this shit except maybe a couple times in passing. Anyways, I just thought it was a funny idea. So I found this page and I was like, okay, this is like a good idea, like a good name. I kind of this is when we started falling we'll probably call it NETLORE. But as you can see, I linked the Wiktionary, a picture of the Wiktionary article, and there's one related term, and that was Faxlore, and that immediately caught my attention. I was like, what on the God's green earth is Faxlore?
Okay, so you sent me Faxlore and NETLORE, and my response, by the way, this is probably indicative of why I don't remember this. I said, Faxlore, lol. Also, NETLORE is a good name. Edited.
Right. This is the point. I was just spamming word definitions at you, so don't blame me for tuning out a little bit. But
I'm like brain dead.
So the point is, NETLORE is, as we've sort of explained, a kind of folklore on the internet, a digital folklore, is as it were. But then this got me thinking, people spread memes and funny images around, but that didn't start when the internet happened. People have been doing that beforehand through this arcane technology called a fax machine. Apparently there's a separate page for something called Faxlore, and I was just intrigued by this. So yeah, as I said, it's kind of folklore and urban legend spread by fax machine. And that just made me think it was so funny to imagine boomers spreading their internet chain letters and back and forth in the pre-internet age. I don't know why this was such a funny, evocative image for me. I don't know. It just made me remember. First of all, I have to get this out of the way. I'm not the guy who should be doing I'm not the guy for this. Okay, for the Ken Penders episode, I was the guy for that, because I just wasn't the right. I happen to know all this crazy shit already. But the ideal version of this podcast right now would not be me and fucking Bernie.
Yeah.
So it would be 2 40 or 50-year-old guys who actually used fax machines, reminiscing, oh, remember this old chain letter? We're only gonna be able to be outsiders looking in here.
A person whose name is actually Bernie. And
yeah, exactly. But I was just gonna say, I thought it would just be an interesting subject to talk about for a little bit.
The reason why I'm saying I'm an idiot for this, and Cybershell's made me look even bigger of an idiot, is because before we started recording, he told me about Faxlore. I thought he made up the term Faxlore when he told me about it, because I thought he just combined fax machines and NETLORE. I thought this was just an episode about fax machines. So I didn't know what it was, and apparently it's actually the impetus for this entire thing being created, and I've just forgotten about it.
I mean, I think NETLORE probably as a word only exists as a sort of like continuation of Faxlore. Well, the funny thing, like I was saying, we're not really like the guys for this.
Yeah.
Like I am old as shit in the sense I'm like 32. I've seen a fax machine, but I never really was in an office setting where I had to use them. I don't think Bernie's ever even seen a fax machine. Do you even know you don't even know what a fax machine is?
I've seen one. Okay,
Yeah,
I know
sure
what
you
it
do.
is. I've seen one, but it was in elementary school. And I think what happened was I was in the principal's office because I got written up for something, and they were faxing something about my misbehavior to another like part of the school. And that is the only time I've ever seen one like get used in person.
Right. This is slightly jumping the gun in my notes. I had this written out later, but like it is actually a weird thing. Whereas you'd think fax machines would be like totally obsolete, right? And like it's just like an archaic technology no one uses anymore. But there actually is a heavy use of fax machine in certain fields, like the medical field and like the law enforcement field.
That
and I
makes
think
sense.
certain government agencies. Yeah, because there is a sort of like weird security in how low tech it is. You know what I mean? You're not going to be hacking a fax machine the same way you could like socially engineer someone into giving you their password for their PC or whatever. It has a level of security. That doesn't necessarily mean that it's the best option because like these old ass machines probably are like slowing down the already slow bureaucratic process. This is so stupid, but just for the record, if you really are like an actual fucking Zoomer out there and you don't understand like what a fax machine is, basically, this is me trying to break it down. It's like a printer and a phone smushed into one like device. And what you do is like you'd put in a typed document in the top and then you would like type in a number, like a fax machine number. The paper would slide through it and then the other person on the other line, they would get a copy of the thing you just faxed over and you could send over like documents. That's what a fax machine is. So if you're understanding, it really was like kind of like a pre-internet in a weird way in the sense like you could actually send over like large, documents and memes and images. Images sharing was like a big thing because it's like how else could you like do that back in the day besides you had to mail people shit.
There was nothing like that before, right? Like just the almost instant like communication through of like an image.
Right. I had a whole completely like separate tangent that I basically deleted, but that was almost like the history of like, there was like the telegraph line and then there were telephones and like it's interesting. Like they used to like telefax out newspapers through these machines. Like it was just an interesting sort of time to be part of like the technological revolution. I'm sure that when they first invented fax machines,
it was like magic.
These fucking boomers were like, holy shit, this is going to change everything. And I guess it did because I'm pretty sure like they were pretty widespread during the 1980s. And they obviously, it goes without saying, they sort of became obsolete by the internet age. They're never going to, I mean, they're not e-waste. I'm sure if you have a fax machine, you don't have to throw it in the trash. Someone out there would probably want to buy it. Like, I don't think they're quite as in demand as like CRT TVs and VCRs, but they're not,
Oh God. Imagine if there was like a nostalgic, like renaissance, how there are for VHS.
See, this is what I think. If there's going to be one, I want to be on the forefront of this as someone like just ready to cash in on these boomers' nostalgia for fax machines.
You're stockpiling fax machines off the Facebook marketplace.
Exactly. Yeah. If you had been doing that with CRTs, you could be making a lot of money right now. This is such a stupid asinine observation, but I felt like it was important for some reason that everyone knows. As far as I'm concerned, the fax machine is the first like digital banshee scream that a lot of people ever got to hear because like everyone knows if you that the dial-up sound, that infamous fucked up dial-up sound when you used to have to connect the internet. But like people also know back in the day, everyone knew you don't call a fax machine number with your phone. You're gonna get this horrific beeping sound.
I've never
heard of these.
Yeah.
It's not quite as fucked up as the dial-up sound, whatever that thing is called. I watched a great video, it was like a breakdown of what all those crazy, because like it's just insane to me. Like, so this is how the fax machine works. I guess I should have mentioned that. Like it's sending data over these lines, like in audio form, compressed into the audio.
Really?
Like, yeah. That's how they send it over the lines. And it was like, that's how it gets decoded. That's why like the fax images are just like a bitmap image. You're not getting like color printouts or anything if that wasn't clear. It's just like a black and white, very simple. It's perfect for like documents, like legal or just, typed textual documents and
I don't know.
Very simple images.
I don't know anything about fax machines. This is actually like
yeah, that's why I almost got sidetracked to this like tangent about this rabbit hole, but like I could actually talk about how fax machines work. It is actually kind of interesting, but I'm not like a tech guy. Like I feel like I'd be kind of like the purpose of this episode, this was supposed to be more of a low-key, sort of a more just chill. I want to make you, the viewer, and also you, the Bernie, think about this. Just think about it, man. I mean, just think about it. I'm not here to like lecture you with like a college course or a college degree. This is just me coping for having barely done any research, but like
it would be so funny if like there was a comment from like this like 50-year-old
No,
man
that's what
who's
I
like,
want.
hey,
that's what I
you
want.
got this completely wrong. You don't know anything about fax machines.
I know. That's what I want, though. I want to reach out. I mean, I don't want to reach out. I don't want to actually talk to these people. But if you have your crazy fact stories, feel free to leave them in the comments. I'm interested and I want to read them. Yeah, you should. I don't want to have. We don't need to do a Faxlore too. You need to go record your own podcast or do it on the radio or whatever you boomers do. Yeah, do not dare speak to us.
We do not want to talk to you.
If you're an old person, but no, it's okay. I am interested in this, and I just thought, I don't know why. I can't even articulate why this reached out to me, but I guess of course it would, right? It's the kind of freak who's like obsessed enough about weird internet history to be like, let's do a whole podcast about NETLORE, and one of them already like,
this is not NETLORE. This is pre the internet.
I know. I had to separate it. This is before the internet, and then some people in the comments are already going to get. There's already some guys like, this is actually, if you know about the history of the ARPANET, it wasn't quite before the internet. Okay, whatever. It doesn't matter. Shut the fuck up. The internet basically started in the middle of the 1990s. I don't want to hear any of this.
I don't know if there's anyone in our audience who like like we're imagining.
Oh, I promise there is. I'm preempting that guy. I'm just saying I know. Okay, that would be a good idea for an episode. That was, again, you'd probably find some better video out there by some tech guy who actually knows things and went to college and probably studied this. But like the whole history of the internet and how that developed out of the DARPA research or whatever.
We're like living in fear of the professor who somehow listens to this podcast and leaves like a long, like cited, annotated essay of everything that was wrong.
That's just him doing free work for us, though, when you think about it. So at the end of the day, that just helps us. So there's no way to lose. That's why I was saying this is just a more conversational tone. Anyways, I'm already got sidetracked, but
it's okay.
That was the impetus. The only thing I got out of my system so far was the why we're doing an episode about Faxlore is because I just saw this term right when I saw the term for NETLORE, and I never was able to get the idea of an episode for Faxlore out of my head. This is always just like a thing I would mention occasionally doing, and then I have like one page of notes, and I don't know. I just thought it'd be interesting to think about. There are some other things I can move on to now. Like this seems like something no one would care about, right? Like this is insane, but this actually is like people have written some books about like.
Wow, really?
I don't know how academic this is, but yeah, like okay, so the term Faxlore is also sometimes used interchangeably with the term Xerox lore because Xerox is like, it's like Kleenex instead of tissues. It was just like a brand name that was so synonymous that it became like interchangeable term. I personally prefer to use the word Faxlore, one, because that's just what the Wikipedia article is called. It's called Faxlore, and I just wanted to like, I also just personally think like that's like, I'd rather use the non-corporate term or whatever. I don't want to get sued by Xerox. That's not the reason, but like, whatever. Faxlore is just, it sort of rolls off the tongue, but it's like, it's more similar to NETLORE. Whatever. I don't have to justify why I think that. But anyways, the reason I'm justifying this so hard is because in 1974, a guy called Michael J. Preston wrote an essay entitled Xerox Lore, where he sort of described this phenomenon of computer folk art, like, it being like transmitted back and forth, and how this is one weird parallel. For some reason, this parallel is sort of why it got stuck in my head so much, because as you send a image back and forth over like fax, it get, Xerox of a Xerox, you know what I mean? It's like it gets degraded over time. It's sort of similar in the modern age, how, you'll see a JPEG meme get saved and recompressed over and over, and the quality also degrades over time. So it's just another weird parallel between the past and the present.
I wonder, because people always, obviously we use the term meme. Was Xerox lore and photocopy lore, do you think there's more of a direct lineage between that and the current internet landscape and how much everything is just shared and turned into like all these like different image macros and shit that we're all sending around?
I actually do, and I think people there's it's not like a missing link. I don't know how to explain it exactly. A lot of the early internet it's kind of gone. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't like built to last the same way the modern internet is. But like if you could really see the kind of shit being shared around on the early internet, it would be very, very, very similar to like the kinds of Faxlore like memes and crap they were sending each other back in the day. Like specifically like the internet started off as such a collection of nerdy people. It was basically just university kids for a while, and then it slowly grew and grew. I don't have to get into the history of how the internet became mainstream.
But like email chains and stuff.
Yeah. I really do think there is a direct lineage between like the chain letters of the Faxlore days and the the forward.
Interesting.
Resend this to grandma type chain letter like emails. There really is a direct lineage, and it's not like I don't want to like say it's like it's so important. It's so goddamn important that we honor and remember the lineage of the shitty pre-internet memes to the current memes.
It kind of is, though.
But in a weird way, it is, right? Like, I know. It's like, I don't know. It's hard to explain.
It's not like the missing link, per se, but it's interesting. We kind of skip all the way from like, oh, this is when meme was coined. And we ignore kind of the earliest actual manifestation of that in kind of like how we think of it now.
Right. I'm just going to send you a couple random like examples of the kind of dumb shit you would see getting
like cartoons
spread
and stuff.
Around. Yeah. See, this is the kind of stuff that's like, it's like, obviously you could just send, funny like textual jokes. And that was actually funny. It's funny enough. fact, if you look on the actual page for Faxlore, a couple of the examples, the first example is this fucking stupid joke that's like, I don't really understand why they thought this was so funny, but like there's a thing where he's talking like mock German. There's a whole section on this. There's actually a separate Wikipedia article called Blinken Lights about like it's like a term for the, you know, how all these like server mainframes have like tons and tons and tons of blinking little lights. It was like, this is literally like a pre-internet copy pasta that supposedly this dates all the way back to like, it was spread around in like IBM from like 1955, where the joke is like, it's using like, it looks like it's German words, but you're supposed to be able to understand it. And it's like, don't touch the blinking lights and whatever. I don't know why, but it's just funny to me that like, it specifically, the Faxlore page specifically says this as an example. And then the other thing it says is, another commonly circulated text contains ethnic humor. Here, a typical version goes something like this. Heaven is a place where the police are British, the lovers French, the mechanics German, the chef's Italian, and it's all organized by the Swiss. Whereas hell is a place where the police are German, the lovers Swiss, the mechanics French, the chef's British, and it's all organized by the Italians. People love this kind of fucking humor back in the day. Like there was like a whole thing where like there's a whole subgenre of jokes about like the Poles and the Polacks, and it's like I don't even understand what the hell any of these jokes, like I don't get the frame of reference why people thought this shit was so funny back in the day. But
that's gonna be people thinking about us one day.
I'm not trying to cancel anyone. I'm not trying to cancel people from the 80s over their risque ethnic humor. I'm just saying that kind of shit used to be way more commonplace, and that was like where a lot of the shit they would send around.
Keep that in mind, by the way. Anyone who wants to correct us about Faxlore and getting it wrong.
If you're some old piece of shit, we're gonna find the racist chain letters you sent via fax machine. And we know
what you were laughing at, okay?
Right. Okay, for some reason, this line cracked me up. There's another line on the Wikipedia article where it says, materials of this sort have existed since the beginning of duplication technology. Like in World War II era, blueprints exist of drawings of female nudes with their body parts labeled as if they were airplanes. And then it says, citation needed. And apparently this line has been there needing a citation since 2008, but no one's taken it out.
Maybe someone just really remembered that in their head and they're like...
That sounds like the kind of thing that could be true. Like, I'm not saying like, I do think that could be true.
Put that, they're like, maybe someone will find this for me so I can see it again.
It is, I don't know why, but just something about that just cracks me up. The thought of, yeah, this was the section that I sort of had to trim down, but the idea that, yes, ever since like the beginning of printed press, you're able to duplicate text and stuff. As soon as that happened, people were using it for like memes and stuff. It's just sort of been, it was harder to do back in the day when like it was like one newspaper had one printing press, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just interesting to me to think about.
It's interesting how, because I'm looking at these like images that they would send to each other, and these are like the kind of things that like a mom would post on Facebook, or like a dad would find funny, like the hit.
They are, dude, that's why boomer meme actually, like, it really captures the energy. It's not just that they were literally that people of that era, but it's like the sort of cheesy, like, wholesomeness of some of these things that they would get spread around is sort of cracking me up. I don't know why. Like, there's a little bit of an edge to some of them, but I don't know. There's something mildly amusing about this, right? And there's like a weird aesthetic to it, like you can see in this last one, where it's just the black and white lines.
How expensive was it to fax something?
That's the thing. It also took a little while. Like the earliest fax machines, like the very early ones, would actually take like minutes at a time to send an image over, so it wasn't super convenient. But like as the machines got better on, it wasn't that cost expensive or anything like that. That wasn't a big limiting factor. People really were just sending shit around,
waiting for like 10 minutes for the nude woman image with the airplane labels.
Right.
Come on.
Dude, people, that's just what it was like back in the pre-internet days. But yeah, can you imagine just like, yeah, you're like, hey, buddy, you got to see this. This is the funniest shit I ever seen in my life. And they just fax you over this image. And it's difficult to soar with eagles when you work with turkeys. And you're like, damn it, Bob, that's the funniest shit I've ever seen. I'm going to hang that up in my cubicle with a piece of tape. What a time to be alive.
Oh, man.
What a time to be alive. Here's another version I saw with this with a cartoon of the era, which I don't know why. Just it's literally like the Minions memes, but nothing from 40 years ago, right?
Nothing has changed.
Nothing has changed. Culture will never change. Culture will never advance. It's just a new layer of paint on top of it all.
This is weird. It's like a part of the era you'd never hear about, but this is just something people were doing the whole time.
It's funny to me. Like this is like the kind of thing that would be so like everyone. If you're like alive nowadays, someone might even be hearing this like, yeah, like of course people used to send this shit back and forth. Everybody knows that. Nobody cares. Like it's not even worth documenting for the, like, you know what I mean? But like it actually like kind of is in a weird way. Like in 1975, this guy Alan Dundes and Carl R. Pagter published a book called Urban Folklore from the Paperwork Empire, which was just like a big book collecting a bunch of this shit and stuff. Apparently like if folklore experts are a real thing, like Alan Dundes was like the president of the American Folklore Society or whatever. And it's like there are people out there who actually are like interested and committed to preserving and taking care of this esoteric knowledge, right? And it's like
folklore or like specifically Faxlore?
Well, Well, they're the organization is about folklore, but like they're just acknowledging and accepting that like this is modern American folklore. Or rather, this was modern American folklore back in the 1980s. Now, modern American folklore is the kind of dumbass shit people post online. Like this dumbass shit video podcast is the new American folklore. And who's going to be out there preserving this? Do you think these old boomers preserving the Faxlore are going to be able to keep up with preserving the NETLORE? No, they'll never do it. Only we can keep up with it. That's why you need to subscribe to the podcast.
That's why you guys need to subscribe so you can see more of these images of like this angry child that says, I know I'm somebody because God don't make no junk.
It's like, this is the kind of just generic, like, wholesomeness that is just so amusing to me. And it's funny because, like, this is the kind of shit that, like, you know, Gen X was, like, so, like, we're so ironically detached from this cringy wholesomeness. But, like, now we're sort of looping back around to being sort of the post-irony era. I don't know. I'm getting a little ahead of myself here, but it is strange, right? I just wanted to give you a taste of what the hell the culture was like. Again, this is me speaking as someone who I did not work in an office in the 1980s. I've only seen, like, American Psycho, and I'm sure that's not an accurate depiction of what it was really like, okay? But anyways, I've been sort of dancing around one of the most prolific, specifically like famous things that would happen around these Faxlore chain letters, which is moral panics over drug hoaxes. Like there's another thing that has its entire own Wikipedia article called like the Blue Star Tattoo Legend or whatever. It's listed as it's an acid hoax apparently. Like, you know, it used to be like,
this is cool.
There's, you know, yeah. It's a kind of an interesting little piece of history. And this is one of the things that made me go, maybe there is something worth talking about here. But it's another one of those urban legends where it's like, you know, this would be printed out and distributed on flyers. Like, oh, you got to watch out. These people are handing out free acid to kids to get them addicted. And it's like, there's no evidence this ever happened. That doesn't happen. People aren't handing out acid. Acid is not, if you want kids to get addicted, you don't give them fucking acid, okay? Acid is not the kind of drug.
Yeah, why would you give it for free too?
Yeah, it's insane. It's just one of those things where I was thinking about how funny this is.
This is really good. I like you can't see this image, by the way, if you're listening to this, but there is this really crude drawing of Mickey Mouse from Fantasia, which just doesn't look like him at all. And I guess it's supposed to be the LSD. Like, I guess this is what's on the packaging. It just looks really awful. It's so goofy. I don't know. It's
just strange, like that supposedly like this was like such a big deal. And it's like, there's always been weird moral panics forever. And just on this page, again, I was on a Wikipedia rabbit hole. I'm just taking you down. I'll just be honest here. On the Blue Star, there's a separate page called the Strawberry Quick Meth Myth, which is apparently something that a drug scare from 2007, where there was another rumor where drug dealers are out there mixing their meth with Strawberry Quick to make it more appealing to children. And it was like, you know, another thing that gets reported in the media and treated like a real thing when there's zero documented cases of it ever happening. And it's just another thing. I mean, damn, society never progresses. We're always just going to keep having these stupid drug scares over shit that doesn't even exist.
Hang on. Let me look at this. Okay. So this is what it says. Mickey Mouse acid has been circulating widely throughout some parts of old New England as part of or in the form of a sticker or label. It may be available to school-age children. Do not handle. Contact with moisture and skin could cause the same effect as taking a dose of acid orally. The picture is Mickey Mouse in the Walt Disney movie The Sorcerer's Apprentice from Fantasia. So was it just a sticker? Is that really what it was?
It's not entirely clear what the origin of this was, or if there even was anything. Like, I don't know if someone heard, like, I don't know if the origin of this was someone deliberately, like, they must have just heard a rumor, like, I better type this out and start sending it around, because there's definitely I'm not sure what basis in reality this is, but there's something interesting about it, right?
This is like, they couldn't get a photo of the actual sticker or something, or it just wasn't possible. They just had to draw it with like a pencil. That's kind of cool, though.
Right. Well, that's sort of how they had to do it back in the day. You couldn't have too detailed of an image sent over fax and stuff. And so drug scares were a big one. All sorts of urban legends. Another big one I specifically list was there were constantly people getting up in arms, terrified about gangs and gang initiations and gang-related hoaxes. Apparently, there was something circulating called the Lights Out hoax, which claimed that people who are driving in the dark with their headlights are gang members, and if you flash your headlights at them, these drivers will be marked for murder as part of a gang initiation, saying like, don't flash your headlights at someone or you'll be murdered. It's like, dude, what the fuck is going on?
Someone made that because they kept they had their lights off or something.
I know that's sort of what I was getting at with the Mickey Mouse thing, which is the thought of like, where did this even originally come from? Like this didn't just come out of the ether. Someone had to start this rumor, this circulation.
That is genius, because that's like just something just millions of people just do probably, and it's just like, yeah, they're all working together. It's like, this is the I don't use turn signals gang. It's like, I don't know.
Right. So this whole like drama about like this and that. Well, one of the major recurring things. This is sort of leading up to my main thing here, which is people would just constantly be sending out these chain letters about like this is so and so is a satanic symbol. This is actually a gang symbol or a satanic symbol. But a very very strange and interesting thing happened, which is that this persistent rumor started going around about Proctor and Gamble. There was a rumor going around that they had their logo as a satanic symbol, and they received like tons of news articles and like media scrutiny. Okay, so it's kind of hard to explain because it's total like schizo nonsense, but the accusation was based on a particular passage from the Bible, Revelation 12:1, which is like, and there appeared a great wonder in the heaven, a woman clothed with the sun, the moon under her feet, and upon her head a crown of 12 stars. Now, the Procter and Gamble logo consisted of a man's face on the moon and 13 stars, but apparently this was enough for people to be like, this is a secret satanic symbol. If you hold up the bottom part in the mirror, you can see 666, and there's all sorts of like just random like things. Like if you look in the top of his head, you could see like satanic horns or whatever.
It's so weird because this stuff sounds so schizophrenic. Like especially like I'm thinking
I know, right?
of everyone.
It sounds insane.
The lights out gang is like that's really weird. That's like some gang stalking theories.
Right, but this Procter and Gamble rumor about their satanic logo was so like persistent and severe. Like, and there were literally like fake chain letters going around saying like the Procter and Gamble president went on this so and so talk show and he admitted that the logo is satanic, and those were like spread around like wildfire. And it's like that literally never happened. Like, but like nobody, you couldn't just easily go online and check. Oh, did so and so go on this show and say this? People would just start spreading it uncritically, and they ended up having to change the logo because this was such bad press for so long. They were like, we have to get rid of this fucking logo that they've had for like 100 fucking years or whatever.
Yeah, I guess it was during the satanic panic and everything.
Yeah, exactly. So this was just this I was going to mention, you did a video about Satanism, so you know all about like this era. People were so eager to jump to the satanic panic for all this bullshit. This logo. The reason this is so interesting is like this logo was so persistent and like they kept coming up. They were accusing Amway, their competitors, of specifically disseminating and spreading this rumor to damage their business.
Man, this could be an episode by itself. That's insane.
Right. It's they unsuccessfully sued Amway from 1995 to 2003 over rumors forwarded through the company voicemail system. But in 2007, they successfully sued individual Amway distributors for reviving and propagating the false rumors, which is insane, right?
That is awesome.
It's just crazy. Like this stupid rumor that started from the 80s was just circulating for so long that like people had to get taken to court over it. You know what I mean?
They were like that invested in the company, like the company's success, that they were just like propagating these like conspiracies, that they were all satanic. That's awesome.
Right. So about another funny thing you could do with this isn't exactly under the same era as I guess it is kind of Faxlore. It's not exactly a chain letter, which is something people used to do back in the day to fuck with like someone they didn't like, was they would send a black fax, which is just a solid black, giant image. It's a prank fax apparently. Is you send it and it would just waste a shit ton of like ink and toner, and you could set it so it would just continually print out page after page of nothing but black ink.
How do you stop it? Do you just have to unplug the fax machine?
Yeah, apparently they're like, I'm not enough of a fax lore researcher to understand how to set up a fax loop, but apparently, yeah, this was a real thing that they would do back in the day.
Interesting. Well, if like the communication is through audio, I guess it's something with that. I don't know anything. Just a guess.
Yeah, honestly, it is. There was like all sorts of weird, again, this was like almost an early sort of DDoS type thing where you could just harass people by tying up their resources or whatever. I think this isn't the kind of thing that you can easily do anymore. I'm like 99% sure there's protections against this now.
Were there competitive businesses like doing that to each other?
I'm sure there were. I would love to find some like proof of like fax warfare just going on, trying to waste your company's time and money and stuff. Because it's strange, because it is like, it's easier to spread shit through fax because you just had to send it over with a number. It wasn't like you had to, sign up for an ISP and register on the internet and like.
Were they traceable?
Only through the number you sent it, so it would be easy. It's not. I'm sure there were ways to obfuscate your origin and whatnot, the same way you could easily do with phones back in the day. We could do a whole separate episode about phone freaking and like what's his face, Captain Crunch, who could like use the whistle from a cereal box to blow the exact frequency you need to like tap into the long distance data grid. That's sort of another thing. Like phones have been sending information coded via just audio signals for so long that it's like that system was easily exploitable for the longest time, but only total nerds knew how to do it, which is the weird thing. And I'm sure similar stuff was going on for fax machines. If you were a fax wizard and you did all sorts of weird esoteric fax warfare back in the day, you have to leave a comment now, especially if you got this far in the video.
Yeah, that actually is really interesting because I wonder if, I guess people wouldn't admit to that really like in a book, but it would be really interesting to hear about because it had to have happened at least once.
Right. But you weren't kidding earlier. Honestly, I probably could have done a whole episode just on the whole Proctor Gamble like lawsuit if I bothered to actually read the files. Guys, this episode isn't me. I read the books. I read all the files. This is more like you should go out there and do your own research and educate yourself. And it's not me just coping.
This is the introduction paragraph. We'll turn this into a 10-episode series for the mini-series Faxlore.
Yeah, okay. That's you know what? You're a genius. That's the perfect way to frame this. We're keeping this light. This one felt light and brief because there's a chance everyone out there is going to fucking hate this episode because they're like, stop talking about fax machines. Go back to talking about the internet and all that crap. I mean, the whole NETLORE thing was always sort of nebulous. Like, we can talk about whatever the hell we want. I mean, whatever. The point is, if you want to hear more about Faxlore, I'm happy to do more research into this stuff, but I don't want to waste my time if you're all going to hate it.
and there's something relating to the internet that I found just researching a little bit about faxes that I'm going to bring up at the end. So if you really somehow hate fax machines, I guess, I don't know. You still should probably not listen. I don't know. Like, I don't know. I don't think the story is like enough to interest you by that point if you hate fax machines that much. But
this episode really is just, I'm just trying to find the two boomers out there who actually are capable of starting a Faxlore podcast.
You're trying to spark inspiration, a little nostalgia.
Right. I want to inspire you. If you're out there and you want to make this podcast, like if you know more about fax machines, I want to hear you talk about it. If you have firsthand experience, that's the thing. That's what we were talking about earlier, which is that there's always primary sources and there's secondary sources. And I mean, I can't be a primary source for you on this fax machine bullshit, but we have to find the weirdo boomers out there who cared about this stupid bullshit, and we have to get them on the record talking about it before they all die of old age.
You know, don't leave a comment. Actually, send a number to our new fax machine that we've installed here at NETLORE.
Yeah. Dude, that would be a great bit. If we were more set up and secure and more successful, like, I mean, it's not that we haven't been successful, just that we're only like 4 episodes in. I would love to set up a NETLORE fax machine. That would be a hilarious bit. If you love fax machines, you want to see the NETLORE fax machine become a reality.
Yeah, that's what we're raising money for.
Just keep watching, you asshole.
Yeah, but okay. We need your money just for a fax machine. We will not be using your money for anything else.
We promise we'll do good bits with it. We won't waste it on bad, unfunny bits. We'll only do really good, funny bits like the fax machine bit, and we'll get a website set up.
We're not putting it on Spotify. We're not putting it on iTunes. We're just getting a fax machine.
People have already asked me about that. We really should figure out like an RSS feed or something. I don't know how to do it either. You figured out how to do it. Yeah. I don't want to figure it out. We'll just find someone else who knows how to do it. I'm sure it can't be that hard.
What if they steal the RSS feed? Okay.
Okay. So I know I promised last episode the next episode wouldn't be so visual. This one wasn't that visual. Okay. I actually panicked because I didn't have enough visual aids. I only had like 2 or 3, and I was like, I should just have a couple more I can throw on screen. I ended up grabbing a whole bunch, but it's fine. I think you pretty much can get the gist of this episode without the visual aids. They're just kind of funny to see. I mean, you can just sort of Google Faxlore.
This one that's really funny. That's a fake tax form that just has 2 questions, which is just how much money did you make last year, and then send it in. Like
it's a classic boomer humor. How can you not like something that just wholesome? And just wholesome's not the right word. That just
kind of boring,
unironic. Yeah. I don't know. I love it. It's stupid,
very,
but I love
earnestly boring.
It is. It's the kind of joke you would send over a fax machine. It's hilarious. It's hilarious to me on multiple levels, and not just me being a fucking like hipster. Like, haha, they thought this was funny. I appreciate it on a deeper level, which I don't have to explain to you. We should get some of that Blue Star acid for the next episode.
I like that awesome like little Mickey Mouse drawing. It looks like it was drawn by a toddler.
If you have a Mickey Mouse Blue Star acid PSA tattoo, I want to see it. Please send in the picture.
If you have the sticker, please send it to us. Okay, we promise we will not touch it with our skin or any moisture, but more importantly,
dude, that's actually insane to think that not only like did all this bullshit happen, like all the faxes that were sent, every fax that has ever been sent. I mean, I wouldn't say they don't all still exist. I would say they all still exist. They technically do in some degree, even the ones that got shredded and sent to a landfill. But like some of these stupid flyers and some of these stupid warnings are just like sitting in some musty old box of files.
Cool. Imagining maybe now you're convincing me that someone should do this, because imagine some like seasoned 50-year-old guy who was back in the day when faxes were everywhere. He has like a huge binder of just all these different faxes, just all these different like stupid little images that people sent him over the years. He has like the Mickey Mouse LSD warning and the Nesquik milk shit, and like this image of the babies looking in their diapers that says, "Oh, that explains the differences in our salaries." I don't know.
I know, that's what I mean. The idea that these all exist out there somewhere in this big wide world. If you work for a company, go look in their corporate archives or whatever. I don't understand how companies and corporations work, but surely somewhere there must exist all this crap. The companies don't like to throw away this kind of shit. I guess a lot of this crap must have been shredded. A lot of it's just apocrypha, the kind of shit you'd pass around, hang up in your cubicle. But come on. I know it exists out there somewhere. And it's not like if the shit online, that you can archive it as best you can, but it's different when it's a physical object. It's different. It's different, man. I don't understand why, but it's different.
It does feel different because it's a physical, tangible thing. It's not just an image on a screen. Like it's
right.
It's very
once all the copies of one of these dumb memes get lost, like it's gone forever. Like the idea of a meme truly disappearing off the internet, even if it truly there are no copies on the internet, like it must be on someone's hard drive out there, unless it was like an inside joke shared by two people. You know what I mean? I'm talking about like an actual meme that like hundreds of thousands of people have seen. The odds of that actually truly being like gone forever is so low. Versus these stupid freaking fax memes, which like they really are. They're every day some fax meme is gone forever.
I wonder.
And we'll never get that cultural enrichment of being able to trace our stupid culture's lineage all the way back to the beginning of culture, which was the 1980s and fax machines.
You talked about that one image of the nude woman with the airplane diagram and how there's no citations for that still. That's lost media. I wonder.
Right. That sounds like something that could exist, that probably did exist, but like if there's no proof it existed, then did it even exist? Did it even make a sound in the woods? I mean, I don't know.
Is it even possible to search for something like that? A lost media hunt for an old image that was faxed around to people. How would you even find that?
We're really pushing we're really testing the patience of the lost media community, asking them to give a shit about fucking fax memes from 1980s. Like, I'm sorry this isn't as exciting as a lost episode of SpongeBob, but it's something, guys. It's something.
You might get an image of a nude woman, guys. Come on. There's no image of a nude woman in A Day with SpongeBob, okay? So
this is think about this. This is before everything was politically correct and you could make jokes about a Polish maternity ward and you wouldn't get fired when your boss saw it. You'd just be like, haha, that's a good one. You know what I mean? Like it's a relic of a different time in human history.
So there was a lot of like fake stories and urban legends and stuff with faxes. Were there ever like cryptids or stuff like the Bat Boy, like just completely fake news stories?
I would love to find out. I'm sure there were. I mean, I'm sure you can't even imagine how much like nonsense of that, cryptid, like Bigfoot communities, how much stuff they must have spread around back in the day. Something interesting that for some reason, I didn't even make this comparison. On the page 4 Faxlore, it says Xerox lore or photocopy lore is similar materials circulated by photocopying. Compare samizdat in Soviet bloc countries, which was samizdat. I'm sure I'm pronouncing that wrong. Is literally means self-publishing, which was like back in the day. The only way you could protest your government was the form of dissidence by like producing pamphlets or whatever, and sending them back in the day. So it's like it's just funny to compare. For some reason, Wikipedia decided to link like political like grassroots evading Soviet censorship by manually like copying these like ideological pamphlets and essays is like the same thing as like some boomer spreading some dumb shit fuck meme on some fax machine. You know what I mean? And it's funny because there are actual similarities between these two practices. You know what I mean? There is a sort of lineage between the kind of people, the homemade, do-it-yourself sort of attitude. It's a grassroots thing. I don't know.
You're mentioning that a lot of like bureaucracies and like law enforcement, they use fax machines still, right?
Right. Yeah, they still exist in this modern world. Every day, a fax machine is getting used, whether you like it or not.
Well, I found this article from 1997, okay? Let me just read this out, okay? I'll send it to. FBI inadvertently faxes out a top secret security report. So even back then, they weren't doing too good.
Seems like, yeah, there's plenty of like issues with using fax machines. And like I was sort of alluding to earlier, like yes, there are benefits to being the low tech thing. Like I'm not completely discounting that, but it really would be better if they just upgraded to like modern tech and just used it appropriately and responsibly. But we'll see.
No, but this is crazy. A classified FBI document warning that militia-linked terrorists may be plotting to bomb government agencies during the holidays was sent by mistake to a movie memorabilia shop. What the fuck?
Well, that's just a classic FBI moment. We could have a whole separate podcast. That would be a different genre of podcast. Just going over FBI fails.
The FBI, NETLORE.
Another epic FBI fail. Have you heard about Waco?
Wasn't that? No, that was that the FBI or was that the?
No, that was a DEA,
that was a
right?
DEA.
Yeah, it was a joint.
No, it was joint.
FBI, DEA, CIA, they're all epic fail, if you ask me, as an epic political guy.
Everyone, I think, who knows me knows my thoughts on the FBI, unfortunately.
Oh yeah, right. That'll be another. We can do a NETLORE and FBI. You can lead on that one. But yeah, I would. I'm honestly, I sort of said it. I wasn't joking exactly. I meant it, but like, I would be happy to read some actual like books about Faxlore and become the ambassador between the two worlds of the internet and the fax age, and the only man on earth who could actually understand both types of machine. The only one to bridge that gap.
Because I don't know anyone who like, I've literally never heard of any of this before.
I feel like people know about fax machines. Like if I went up to a fucking Zoomer on the street and said, do you know what a fax machine is? Have you heard of my, they would have to say yes, right? Am I completely off base here? I was sort of jokingly explained what one was earlier, but I was like, there literally will be someone watching this video who's like, I don't know what a fax machine is. I've never seen that before in my life, because why would you use a fax machine in the modern era? There's no reason to, really. I mean, when you can use a phone or an email, or, you know what I mean?
I do wonder, because I don't know. Genuinely, I don't know. Like if the kids that are in high school today would know what a fax machine is, because I could see like someone doing one of those on the street things and just being like, do you know what machine this is? Do you know what this does? And they just don't know.
This is also apparently another thing that happens in countries. Like apparently Japan, like their government has a huge issue where all their bureaucracy it's all like paperwork. They haven't like digitalized everything yet. And like fax machines are still hugely popular over there between businesses and stuff, because they're just sort of operating on that architecture of that's how businesses used to be. You know what I mean? They're so slow to want to upgrade. Have you ever seen in a business they're still using like Windows XP or something because it's a closed system? They don't need to upgrade because why do they need to if it's working fine? If it ain't broke, don't fix it. So it's kind of weird to think that not only are people using old operating systems, they're using pre-operating system fax machines. I mean, that's like where the OS came from. This is a whole separate fucking thing. The history of Windows, Bill Gates, Xerox. But like, it's like that's where computers came from. It's kind of an important freaking thing, okay, about the lineage of computers. And maybe someday I'll actually do the research and know about it and not just vaguely allude to various facts I've heard about it.
It's okay. We have 100 more episodes, buddy. Okay.
You know what? This was the real point of this episode. I'm just going to break it down to you. The real point of this episode was we had to record an episode because an episode had to be recorded, which is just that we have to get in the habit of start doing these on the reg. So this one is
I think it's been good.
How you say,
I think it's been good.
It's a warm-up episode. I think it's good. It's been good. Okay, this is another thing. I had to get people's expectations down after the Ken Penders thing. I didn't want them to think I was putting in that much effort in every episode.
That is a
temper your expectations. That was a special episode. We're not aiming for 2 hour, 20-minute episodes normally.
Now, I have are you at the end of your notes? Because I have a few things that I found.
Yeah, go ahead and you can. So I don't have anything major. You can go ahead.
It turns out that actually using these fax machines maybe not still a good idea, because in 2018, okay, this is a Yahoo News. No, this is an Associated Press article from 2018. It says, "Beware the fax machine. Some hackers target old gadgets." A cybersecurity firm basically said they discovered flaws in tens of millions of fax machines. And the thing is, this isn't like, it's like, oh, who cares? You're hacking a fax machine. No, this is the ability to compromise the entire network it's linked to. So it says the hack works by sending an image file through the phone line that is coded to contain malicious software.
We're reaching advanced levels of hacking, guys. They're hacking the fucking fax machines. You need to stop using these bad boys. That's the real goal of the Faxlore, is to educate. We need to phase out these fax machines, guys. I hate them. I was just lying all that shit I said about liking fax machines. I'm completely anti-fax now, but I still want to learn about them.
We cannot put one in our age, because they're saying...
I changed my mind. If we hooked up a fax, if we got the NETLORE fax machine, it would compromise the entire channel. It's gone. It's over.
It's true, because apparently a ton of these can't be updated anymore, because they're not making updates. So these...
Yeah, how do you update them? They're fucking fax machines.
These are intrinsic. So many machines are too old to even update. And then...
That's what the thing with these old OS systems, like, I would love to just be using Windows XP if that was a fucking option, but they don't get updated anymore, so the security flaws are just permanent. So you have to stop using them if they're connected to the internet, because you will just...
So now
you're too
vulnerable.
vulnerable.
I'm wondering, if maybe law enforcement shouldn't be using these still. This is
maybe that was kind of a freaking bad idea,
I don't know.
guys. I consider myself a little bit of a genius when I say maybe we should just freaking stop using fax machines already.
It does say here, I will point out, that there was a patch for certain fax machines, but I don't know much about it.
I'm sure the FBI or the US government can commission a company to be like, hey, I know you don't update your fax anymore, but we need you to make this more secure for us right now. But still, that's also weird to think about proprietary hidden patches only certain people are allowed to have access to.
But interestingly, okay, so this takes us to kind of all the things I was looking into while I didn't prepare into this episode.
Bernie thought this episode was just about fax machines, which it sort of turned into one, which I'm not even opposed to talking about them. I just was like, specifically, I thought the idea of Faxlore was just so funny and stupid.
But the one thing that I knew is that in 2016, I don't know if do you know who Weave is?
I mean, yeah, I know all about Weave. We could do a whole episode on that bad boy.
Okay. So, maybe you can explain him, because I don't think I can explain who he is very well, even though I know who he is.
What's relevant to this story? He's a hacker. That's all I'll say. What else is relevant?
Basically, I think he committed the largest fax hack troll ever. So in 2016, April of 2016, lead up to Donald Trump's election. And let me read this article. So 2 weeks ago, Weave, the pseudonym of infamous internet troll Andrew Auernheimer, claimed responsibility for sending countless racist, anti-Semitic flyers to thousands of publicly accessible internet-connected printers throughout the country. And the thing is, the reason why he did this, it was a pro-Trump message. And I'm trying to find the image of it, because it was okay, this is what it says. Actually, I cannot read this. We're going to get banned. But it says...
I was going to say, you're going to read it? I can't endorse Weave or anything he says, but I will say tapping into 1,000,000 unsecured printers to print something out is kind of funny.
It's kind of funny.
Shame it was a racist flyer, but still.
It was not a Trump ad. I misremembered that. It was a Daily Stormer ad. So the largest fax hacking ever was to promote the Daily Stormer. And I forget, I think there's an exact number count.
Here's the moral of the story. If you have a fax machine, you will get a Nazi propaganda through it someday, unless you throw that shit in the trash.
Damn, 20,000 printers and fax machines. That's how many people this got to.
That's a lot.
That's crazy.
That's impressive. Not saying it's a good thing. I'm just saying that's an impressive amount of faxes to send all at once and printers to tap into.
Following the wave of flyers, the question of whether or not Weave broke any laws was, of course, raised. The thing is, Weave didn't actually hack anything, but exposed a vulnerability. So I guess he didn't technically hack it. He just found unprotected fax machines and printers.
Right. That they were unsecured, so you don't have to hack them. That's the whole point.
Interesting.
Then again, just because someone's house is unlocked doesn't give you the right to walk into it. I know it's a separate analogy, doesn't fully translate legally. I'm just saying. The biggest fax prank of all time. Yeah. Shaman had to be anti-Semitic, but well done for the... I shouldn't cut that part where I said well done. It's not well done, but I am impressed by it. I don't know how to explain. I have conflicted feelings. It's bad that he did it, but I wish he just made it a funnier joke.
If you're listening to this podcast, please leave a comment.
Weave, if you're listening to this and you want to guest on an episode, we probably shouldn't do that.
We should cut that out.
Let's put it this way. He sent an interesting flyer out. I mean, this thing, I don't want to obfuscate it too much because it sounds like a running cover for a fucking Nazi, but you know what I mean?
It's just interesting that it was so recent too. It was 2016, because I think the 2018 article was saying, there's over 45 million people still using them, businesses and people just using them. And it's damn.
Right. That was something I sort of wanted to get at. I guess I didn't really quite mention, but just the sheer volume, fax machines, they're a thing. They still exist in the world. And there's a lot of them out there, not just in the Japanese government. I'm just talking in America. There's a lot of them. A lot of companies use them. I mean, any big business will have a fax machine. I'm sure there's still some reasons. Sometimes it would be more convenient if you're having a fucking internet outage or something and you need to get something over to another office ASAP. But I don't know. Something about this strange machine appeal, it calls out to me. It makes me want to learn more about it.
Now I'm reading about it more, and someone's saying that one article is saying that it's never been done before. So I guess this is just the first and only time. I don't know. That's kind of crazy.
That is a great way to get away with a crime. It's by doing something that's a new crime. You know, they didn't have a chance to make it illegal yet.
But yeah, that's all. That is all I had in the wheelbarrow for what the fuck I knew.
Well, I'm glad we could end this podcast on such a upbeat note.
On such an upbeat note, an inspirational story. Never mind. Let's restart that.
I think I spun that pretty well. It's a good warning. If you have a fax machine,
if you have a fax machine,
you are vulnerable. You're vulnerable, okay, to Nazis.
So one or two people out there who's listening to this somehow, I don't know why you're listening to this, and then you have a fax machine. You should not have one, or I guess you should make sure it's updated.
No, if you have a fax machine, you will die. It will kill you.
What if we create? This is just a PSA for people who have fax machines.
I've completely lost the plot. I think I started this being fax machines are so cool and interesting, and I'm fuck you, throw that thing in the trash.
I don't know what we've done here.
I don't know. Whatever. Who cares?
It's okay.
If it turned out good. If you guys want to hear more about fax when I actually do I'll do the homework next time. I promise.
2-hour fax machine video coming soon, by the way.
No No, not spread runs in 2 hours, but I'm considering doing at least 2 more episodes, but we'll see.
I mentioned pretty early in this episode, like, it's interesting to think about, like, this was happening throughout all the decades that we remember, and we remember like, oh, this is what the 80s was like, this is what the 70s was like, but this stuff like this was happening, and we never really thought about it. But it's like, if you were living in that time, it's definitely something you were like probably aware of. So it's interesting to think about all the little minutia and all these little, like, the ways people interacted with each other and just had fun, that like they're kind of lost to time, because there's no reason to remember it.
I was just going to say, like sort of tying into what I said earlier, which is like, yeah, if you live through this era, some of this stuff is so mundane. You're hearing us talk about it, I must be like, yeah, of course everybody knew about that. But like, these are the kind of details that get lost. They get flattened over time in historical retellings. My whole life, I didn't experience the 80s. I've only just been bombarded with 80s nostalgia bait media my whole life. You know what I mean? So I feel like I have a completely distorted view of what the 80s were actually like. There's no part in Stranger Things, at least I think there isn't or whatever, where there's fucking talking about this fucking, was Stranger Things 70s or 80s, whatever. I don't fucking know about the show. Anyways, the point is, you're not going to see this bullshit facts, cringy boomer memes brought up in any show. Nobody wants to show you the truth, what really was going on.
Yeah.
And as I sort of alluded to earlier, it really was the lineage of our entire modern internet culture in a way. Well, not the entire modern internet culture.
But it's very, very clearly similar.
As we talk about in the Something Awful episode, it's nebulous, but there is a direct lineage. You can trace this back to just, sharing image macros. This was like the first time that was really able to be done easily on a wide scale in America, which I just think is so neat.
It's so interesting, like image sharing before file sharing. And it's like if you were living through that time, it probably seems so mundane. And now we only remember like the high points of the culture, but it's like never hearing about this before and knowing about it now. It's like
someone needs to document the low points.
It adds a lot. I think it's a fuller picture of how kind of like how we got to where we are now.
It reminds me that the people in the 1980s, they were real people. They weren't just cartoon characters.
It does make you think, because we were talking about this before a few days ago, just thinking about like, if we were growing up back then, we probably wouldn't really think to document this stuff. It's just something that happened, just something your friend sends you. Like, why archive it? I wonder like what today is like that,
Right. That's exactly where I was sort of like drawing the parallels earlier. Like modern meme culture they don't have to worry about preserving it in the same way. In fact, it's almost the opposite problem, because for this stuff, there's only so much surviving from the day. Now everything survives, everything gets preserved. It's like an overwhelming glut of information. It's all drowning each other in like the minutia of like, you can't find a meme because there's 100 million memes just like it or similar to it, and that's the reason you can't find it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it doesn't get lost to time per se. It just gets drowned in the sea of just constant information. It's really interesting, because if you really do the deep dive, which is, that's kind of what we do on this podcast, is just digging through all of this to find like that small detail and just going really in depth about it. It's like, it's interesting.
If we actually did our jobs, we could have shown you the exact things. But that, like, think about it. Like, you would only see a couple of these, like someone sending you a funny image over the facts. It's probably happens like once a day. It's not like they're scrolling through Reddit and getting like 100 memes blasting their eyeballs. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not even saying, oh, it was better back then. I'm just saying you would definitely appreciate each stupid joke image you saw more, because you're seeing way less of them. You know what I mean? And that's why they would have lower standards. You can't make fun of them for having shitty standards and taste in jokes, because they would only get to see and make so many of these things. And making one of these memes would be such a pain in the ass, and sharing it too. I don't know. This whole thing about this low art. There's a whole separate debate about low art. Is it worth talking about? Is it worth preserving? I don't know. I think it's interesting.
I think to end it on, maybe a note to end it on is like thinking about, for as archaic as this all seems now, it just was the natural way, I guess, communication was adapting to like this new technology. And I wonder, because we're seeing stuff like VR and all this like crazy shit getting invented. I wonder, like, how is that going to adapt to like these new mediums, these new fields? And then how are they going to look back on what we do now?
Right. Or is anyone going to be able to find our shitty memes, or are they going to all be drowned out by an ocean of AI generated garbage that's just going to flood the net over the next few years? You know what I mean? Like, maybe we should be doing a better job recording and preserving this stuff, because I sort of said earlier it was like the opposite problem, but that is still a problem. You still do need people. There are people out there who care about this digital archiving stuff. We're not like the only guys who know yourmeme.com exists, is what I'm trying to say, but like still, it's interesting. And we don't need one central authority. We need lots of people to document the things they know about firsthand. That's what I was getting at earlier with the firsthand experience stuff. If you were a firsthand experiencer of the Faxlore, you're one of a few like remaining, like every day, not to be complete downer about this, everyone's, people are dying. There's less and less people are going to be around who know about the Faxlore in the future, okay?
Yeah, that's
every day someone who knows about the Faxlore is dying. That's your only value to me.
Every day another one is dying.
We'll never know. That's another stupid boomer meme that's only in their brain because no copies of it exist, and then it's just gone. It's gone forever, and I'll never be able to make fun of it on my stupid podcast.
All right, I think That's really good. That's a good note to end it on. So, all right, guys, if you are 50 years old, if you are really old, you remember fax machines or something, leave a comment before you die. And with that
Yeah,
said,
if you're an old piece of shit, please, please leave us a comment.
That said, goodbye, guys. All right, that's the end of the episode.
Goodbye. We'll see you next time if we didn't scare you off with this piece of shit. Fuck, sorry. I'll you cut that.